What happens when the truth is finally out, and there's no way to erase it? Taehyung and Jungkook made a decision the world never expected, and now there's no turning back. Fans are celebrating, media is exploding, and HYB is facing pressure like never before. But the real shock isn't what they already revealed. It's what they're planning next. Some say it's a risk. Some say it's a message. And others believe it's the beginning of something much bigger than anyone imagined. Stay here, because what comes next will change everything. The night after their scheduled posts went live, the world felt different, louder, faster, heavier. The comment sections exploded within seconds, hashtags rose to the top of every platform, and global media outlets started publishing articles before even understanding what the messages meant. Some fans cried out of relief. Some out of confusion. Others out of fear. But one thing was undeniable. No one was neutral. Meanwhile, inside their private world, Taehyung and Jungkook watched everything unfold in silence. Not panic. Not regret. Just observation. For the first time, it wasn't the world watching them. They were watching the world. Messages from staff flooded Jungkook's phone. Interview requests, reaction inquiries, brand concerns, everything came fast, as if everyone suddenly wanted control over a moment that was never theirs to begin with. But Jungkook didn't reply to any of them. He put his phone down, leaned back, and closed his eyes. His mind replayed everything. The years of whispers, distance, avoiding eye contact on camera, pretending nothing existed just so no one could twist it. Now that weight was breaking. Taehyung, meanwhile, walked out onto his balcony. The city lights below felt endless. Chaotic but strangely calm from a distance. He took a slow breath, letting the cold air steady him. He checked his phone again. Not the internet, not news, just one chat. Jungkook's name. The message from earlier still sat there. Whatever happens, we face it together. Taehyung reread it, and a small quiet smile appeared. Not excitement, not victory, but understanding. A knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. His manager stepped in carefully, as if entering a fragile space. They want to know if you're willing to make a follow-up statement, he said. Taehyung didn't answer immediately. Instead, he asked a question no one expected. Do I have to? His manager hesitated before answering. No, not anymore. The choice is yours. For years, choices never really felt like choices, they felt like obligations. But now, everything was shifting. Across the city, Jungkook was having the same conversation. And when both finished, they sent the same text at nearly the same time. No interviews. No clarification. Not yet. Because they understood something the world didn't. Silence wasn't fear, silence wasn't avoidance, silence was power. The world could speculate. The media could twist, fans could debate. But for the first time, Taehyung and Jungkook weren't trying to stop the noise. They were letting it happen because the next step, the real one, wasn't going to be rushed, forced, or shaped by pressure. It would happen when they chose. And until then, everyone would just have to wait. 2 days passed. And the noise didn't calm, it grew louder. News outlets dissected every sentence of their posts. Reaction videos flooded the internet. Rumors multiplied faster than facts. Some called it brave, some called it reckless. Some claimed it was the confirmation they had waited years for. But HYB couldn't stay silent forever, so on the third morning, Taehyung and Jungkook were called in. Not separately, but together. When Jungkook arrived, Taehyung was already there, sitting at the long meeting table with his hands folded, eyes calm but unreadable. Jungkook took the seat beside him, not across. That small choice said everything. The room filled, legal advisors, public relations staff, executives, managers, and tension. The meeting began quietly, but the pressure was unmistakable. One executive finally spoke. We need clarity about your posts. The public is demanding an explanation. Taehyung didn't respond immediately. He looked at Jungkook, giving him the chance to go first if he wanted. Jungkook exhaled slowly. What they want and what they deserve aren't the same, he said. A few heads turned. Someone scribbled notes. Another shifted uncomfortably. The conversation continued. Some argued transparency would calm the chaos. Others warned the situation could escalate if they stayed vague. But Taehyung finally spoke, and his voice cut through the noise. Explaining something personal just to satisfy curiosity isn't transparency, he said. It's surrender. The room fell silent. No one expected that level of clarity. Jungkook followed. We're not hiding. But we're not performing our private lives for entertainment. Those words changed the tone instantly. They weren't defensive. They weren't uncertain. They were grounded. The executives regrouped. Someone finally asked the question hovering over everyone. So what is your plan? Taehyung and Jungkook exchanged one more look. Aligned, steady, unspoken but understood. Jungkook answered first. No statements. Taehyung finished the sentence. No denial. No confirmation. A bold move, a risky one, but it wasn't indecision, it was intention. They weren't going to let the world define them. They weren't going to let pressure dictate their truth. And they weren't going to reduce their connection, whatever it was, into a headline. When the meeting ended, they walked out together. Outside the door, Jungkook paused. You okay? He asked. Taehyung nodded softly. Better now. And then Jungkook said something that surprised even himself. This isn't just the world reacting to us. He glanced toward the hallway filled with screens and waiting reporters. It's us reacting to the world, differently this time. Taehyung's expression softened. Not relief. Not victory, something deeper. Then let them watch, he said. And they walked away side by side. Not as rumors, not as speculation, not as secrets, but as two people finally in control of their own story. Even though the world kept spinning with theories and speculation, time moved differently for Taehyung and Jungkook now. Instead of reacting to the outside chaos, they were learning how to move inside it. Slowly, carefully, but without fear. 2 days after the meeting, their schedules finally aligned. No managers. No advisors. No cameras. Just them. They met at a small studio Jungkook sometimes used late at night, a place no one monitored, no one questioned, and no one thought twice about. Taehyung arrived first, sitting on the floor with his back against the wall, quietly humming. When Jungkook walked in, he paused. Not because he was surprised, but because the moment felt heavier than expected. Not dramatic. Not tense. Just real. Taehyung looked up. You're late. Jungkook rolled his eyes, dropping his phone beside him as he sat down. You're 15 minutes early. That's different. A small laugh escaped Taehyung, and the room softened instantly. For a few minutes, neither spoke. Jungkook tapped rhythmically on the floor, and Taehyung watched the lights above them flicker softly. Finally, Jungkook asked the question that had been silent between them. Do you regret posting it? Taehyung didn't answer right away. He inhaled deeply, choosing honesty over comfort. No, he finally said. It was time. Jungkook nodded slowly. Yeah, I think so too. The silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable. It was necessary. Because both knew the world wouldn't let this fade quietly. Something would come next. Maybe interviews. Maybe pressure. Maybe backlash. But something else was happening too, something quieter but far more important. They were learning to exist without hiding. After a while, Taehyung stood and walked toward the piano in the corner. Without asking, he began playing soft notes, slow chords, unfinished but meaningful. Jungkook watched him, head tilted slightly, before getting up and joining him. Not song lyrics, not official work, just humming along, shaping the beginnings of something new. Their voices blended naturally, effortlessly, as if they'd done this 1,000 times. Maybe they had. But tonight felt different. Tonight, they weren't performing, they weren't idols, they weren't defending anything. They were just two people speaking the only language that never betrayed them. Music. When the last note faded, Taehyung looked at Jungkook, not as a bandmate, not as someone under scrutiny, but as someone he trusted. What now? Jungkook murmured. Taehyung smiled, not excited, not reckless, sure. Now, he said softly, we live. And let the rest catch up. No plan and no fear. Just the first real step forward. Outside, the world continued to argue, celebrate, doubt, and obsess. But inside that studio, where the sound still lingered and the moment still breathed, Taehyung and Jungkook already knew. Their story wasn't ending, that it was finally beginning. The next morning felt strangely quiet, not because the world was calmer, but because Taehyung and Jungkook were. They woke up to headlines, reaction floods, and millions of notifications, but something inside them had changed. For the first time in years, the chaos didn't feel like a threat. It felt like background noise. Taehyung spent the morning at home, making coffee the way he always did, slow, intentional, peaceful. But even simple moments felt different now. There was a weight lifted that he never fully acknowledged until it was gone. His phone buzzed. A message from Jungkook. Just one line. Let's not disappear. Not this time. Taehyung paused. Not because he was unsure, but because those words carried history. For years, every time rumors intensified or fans noticed too much, they stepped back. They distanced themselves. They became strangers in public. But this time wasn't like before. Taehyung typed back, agreed. Across the city, Jungkook put his phone down with a breath that felt like release. His decision wasn't impulsive, it was overdue to be. Afternoon. Both arrived at the same location, a quiet rehearsal room where the sunlight filtered through floor-to-ceiling windows. The same room they had practiced in countless times before, laughing, arguing, creating, growing. They didn't talk at first. They didn't need to. Jungkook adjusted the speakers. Taehyung warmed up his voice. And then, without a plan or script, they began practicing a duet they had never released. A song written years ago but abandoned because the timing wasn't right. Now it was. Taehyung sang the first verse, soft but steady. Jungkook joined in the chorus, their voices blending like memory and instinct. As the final harmony faded, neither moved. The moment held them still. Jungkook finally spoke, barely above a whisper. "We could finish it." Taehyung looked at him, not surprised but proud. "We should." There was no hesitation. No fear. Not even the awareness of the storm outside. Just two people reclaiming something taken from them, choice. But before they continued, Jungkook asked another question, one heavier than the last. "If things get worse, if the pressure grows, will we still stay like this?" Taehyung didn't answer right away. He looked down, then back up, eyes steady. "Yes," he said. "Because avoiding it never protected us. It only made us smaller." The truth between them settled like gravity, real, undeniable, unshakable. They didn't need to define what they were. They didn't need labels, confirmation, or public approval. What they needed was exactly what they had in that room. Loyalty, trust, honesty, and each other to be. Evening, they left the building the same way they entered, together. Cameras didn't catch them. Fans didn't follow. No one knew where they had been or what they were planning. But something subtle but powerful had shifted. They were no longer reacting to the world. They were moving forward in spite of it. And somewhere between the silence, the music, and the unspoken promises, it became clear. The next chapter wouldn't be controlled by rumors or fear or pressure. It would be written by them. And the world, whether ready or not, would have no choice but to watch. 3 days passed before either of them stepped into a public space again. By then, the internet had turned into a battlefield. Support and concern on one side, skepticism and speculation on the other. Editorials, fan theories, and reaction channels wouldn't stop. Everyone wanted to know what Taehyung and Jungkook were going to do next, and no one expected their answer to be something so simple. They showed up. Not separately. Not through a carefully filtered statement. Not in silence, but in person. It wasn't a red carpet or an award show. Nothing polished or rehearsed. It was a casual studio visit for a variety show filming. Something ordinary. Something human. People noticed before cameras did. Staff exchanged glances. Producers froze for a second. A few whispered so quietly it was almost comical, as if speaking louder might shatter the moment. But Taehyung and Jungkook didn't hesitate. They walked in calmly, naturally, side by side. There was no distance this time, no stage space between them, no tactical avoidance of eye contact. Just presence. The host of the show greeted them with a mixture of warmth and visible nerves. They prepared neutral questions, safe topics, boundaries. But the energy in the room shifted before filming even began. Taehyung smiled first, easy and relaxed. Jungkook returned it, not shy, not hesitant, but with a confidence that hadn't been seen in a very long time. When filming started, something remarkable happened. They laughed, not politely, not strategically, but genuinely. Taehyung teased Jungkook about his late-night gaming. Jungkook joked about Taehyung taking too long to pick outfits. The room relaxed. The host stopped being cautious and started being curious. Not the invasive kind, but the human kind. At one point, the host asked a question many feared. "How are you both handling everything lately?" The room stilled. Cameras kept rolling. Everyone held their breath. Jungkook didn't look away or pass the question off. He met the host's eyes and answered simply, "We're okay." Taehyung added, voice soft but grounded, "We're taking things step by step. Together." It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't explosive. But it was enough. Filming continued smoothly, and soon the atmosphere felt less like a broadcast and more like a conversation, natural, warm, real. When it ended, the host thanked them quietly. You didn't have to come. But you did. That means something. Taehyung nodded gently. It was time to stop disappearing. Jungkook added with a small smile. We want to live, not run. As they left the studio, cameras finally caught sight of them. Flashes followed. Voices called out. But this time neither flinched, neither rushed, neither pretended to be strangers. They walked forward, not fast, not slow, just steady side by side. Aligned, unapologetic, and somewhere in that simple public moment, without a confession, without a label, without a script, the narrative changed. They weren't rumors anymore. They weren't speculation, they weren't something the industry controlled. They were Taehyung and Jungkook, living their lives on their own terms. And the world, noisy and restless, finally understood one truth. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a scandal. It wasn't temporary. It was intentional. And it was only the beginning.